All right, so if we go to the historical data, the Santa Claus rally, it should be a good few days for the markets. But I want to go to more recent history.
Sure.
Friday, Austan Goolsbee, kind of giving some dovish talk there about cuts. Fed President John Williams also kind of adding some fuel to that dovish fire. How do you see that potentially influencing the market? We mentioned that sell-off last week following Jerome Powell. But now we're seeing Goolsbee, who is a voting member next year, giving the market some hope of more cuts.
Yeah, maybe that will help attribute to that lift that we saw Friday into maybe today and that Santa Claus rally that we're hoping for. But I think most things are pretty much locked up here for 2024, and eyes are moving towards what's it going to look like in 2025.
I actually want to play that Austan Goolsbee side, if you don't mind, because it sounds like you're agreeing. There was some dovish talk. I want to get your take on what he said and if any response to this, if you're an investor, that you need to make. Let's just play it and take a listen.
They think that the ultimate rate is around 3% with inflation of 2%, a real rate of 1%. We're still above that, so I still think it's meaningfully restrictive, and that's why I say over the next 12 to 18 months, if conditions keep on the way that they have over the last 18 months, I think rates come down a fair bit more.
All right, so a fair bit more, still too restrictive. In your mind, does that mean that January may be on the table? Does that change kind of the outlook of when we could see these cuts, or do you still think January is a pause? And what does that mean for the market?
So I don't think really anything has changed fundamentally here. The big movement was, are we going to have 4 cuts next year or 2? I think that's what really investors bit down on, and that's where that recalibration came from. Now you're hearing Fed's...
Borrowing a word from Jay Powell, the recalibration.
Yeah, so you're seeing that play out in real time to the end of the year, but muted trading. So we'll see how heavy that is.
Just quick yes or no. Any fears of a hike? Some bubbles of like a hike that could possibly happen next year. Any fear of that? Okay.
Not for me. I hope not. That would be wild.
Let's talk about a fear that we're not worried about anymore. A government shutdown. We had a bill to avert it. But at the same time, are you possibly worried about the U.S. credit rating getting downgraded? When we look back to August of 2023, when Fitch downgraded the U.S. credit rating, that's what they cited. They cited just basically dysfunction in fiscal policy making. We're seeing, the insertion of a second Trump administration of the richest person in the world also in this conversation. Yeah. Worried about a possible downgrade and what that could mean for bond yields or what that could just mean for market confidence overall?
I'm not too concerned over a downgrade. What I'd be more concerned with is the volatility that would come with what? You're saying dysfunction in D.C.? No, you're kidding me, Frank. But that's really what's going to take place here, is we'll see the markets move around to that. And I hope people can stick to their strategies instead of getting kind of derailed here with what's going on in D.C.
Right. Speaking of sticking to the strategy, last time you were on, you said, Bitcoin, it should be part of your portfolio. Let's just look at the volatility. Anybody at home can look at the charts, whether you want to look year to date, if you want to look post-election. It's really been a volatile asset class. It's made some big upside and downside moves. I mean, right now it's up 0.75%, but it's about 12,000 off of its high that it hit just a few days ago. I mean, talk about volatility. Does what we've seen since the election, does that change your view at all?
No, nothing has changed my view for the last 10 years as far as Bitcoin is concerned. You have one heck of a year here, nearly doubling up in its price, all-time highs, countless times this year. It's financialized now, right? You're seeing ETFs. I've never seen a cycle in Bitcoin that had this many tailwinds associated with it, whether that means we'll get some kind of strategic reserve or we're just going to further see the indoctrination of Bitcoin into the financial system. That's all happening right now. So exciting, exciting stuff. But yeah, still very volatile. That's what Bitcoin will do. It will be very volatile. And it's something to keep an eye on.
Can I ask you for one more short answer? People ask me this all the time, and I really don't have an idea. Some people ask me, should you invest in Bitcoin now, or did you miss the big upside move? We just showed the chart.
Yeah.
Up over 35% since the election. I mean, do you think it really has substantially more room to run?
I think it does. And one question I ask myself, or would ask someone, I know people would get upset if I said it was digital gold, but if you think of it that way, do you think it's just as good, better, or worse than gold? And use that thinking to try and guide you as to where you think the price of Bitcoin would be, using kind of the market cap of gold as your measuring stick.